often pain is proof of a chapter closing in your life. So well done. You've finished the book. On to the next. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are on episode 6 of Things I'm Learning About Myself, the series. I hope you guys have actually been enjoying it so far. I hope we have been healing together. I have received a lot of messages, so thanks to you guys, know who you are. It brings me a lot of joy to know that I'm not just sitting up here talking to myself and deceiving myself, thinking I'm putting out information that's needed when actually it's not, or actually it's common sense. This journey was about reaching the people that don't know that certain behaviors that they exhibit are wrong or have come from trauma or have come from a place of fear or brokenness, because I too was there. I too have operated for a very long time actually in fear. We think we're protecting ourselves when in reality we are just running away from the world. So yeah, it brings me a lot of joy to see that I am not alone in this journey. I know they say misery loves company. This is not it. This is me building a community of people that want change in their life and are actively working towards that. So that being said, let's get into the episode. The title of today's video is You Didn't Lose Them, You Just Outgrew Them. So today we are going to be talking about why people fall away during your transformation. Sometimes the most painful part of healing isn't the process itself, but more the people you lose along the way. And today I would like to share a perspective that may or may not shift completely the way you see relationships that have ended during your journey. Sometimes you are friends with people that you're not supposed to be friends with, not in a bad way. It's just we don't align. Our dreams don't align. Our mentality doesn't align. And maybe we're friends because we went to school together, or you're close to my family, or whatever the reason is. You're holding on to something that you don't necessarily need to hold on to. I think it's important as well to not think or to stop saying that you've lost someone and look at it more as you have outgrown the version of yourself that needed that person. You know, we talk so much about growth, healing, transformation, but we rarely talk about the grief that comes with it. Obviously, it's evident that I'm going through a process. My mind is completely changing, thank God. I think for the better. And I do have a lot of people that I no longer agree with, and vice versa. Let's just say that they no longer agree with me, right? And of course, relationships have broken down. This is not to, okay. We're going to talk about the topic rather, I'm not going to give examples because out of respect for relationships that have broken down in my life, I wouldn't want to get too deep into it. But let's just talk about the topic. When you heal, you evolve. So when you start showing up differently, relationships do change. A lot of things will shift. But I don't think it's because it's changed you. I think it's because it exposes what was actually sustaining that relationship. I say that because some people are connected to your wounds and not your identity. Some people are connected to your dysfunction and not your destiny. Some people are connected to your silence and not your voice. Maybe you've lived a type of way all these years and now you tap into yourself and all of a sudden you are overbearing, you are too much for them, and the connection is gone, right? Obviously, when you start changing, things around you naturally change, and a lot of people fight against that change. A lot of people don't want to be seen a type of way, when in reality, you can't be carrying dead weight around you. And this journey that we are going through will reveal a lot of things in your life. There are certain friendships I'm very sure you've lost and you just can't understand, I don't know why we drifted. I don't know why they stopped being my friend or whatever. And I think that that's actually proof of your expansion. It's proof that you have evolved, and it's proof that you have changed, especially if you can't really pinpoint why this relationship broke down. So I think it's actually a positive rather than a negative, as long as you're not the problem, that is, right? Of course, there are instances where you are toxic and that's why the person left you. That's not what we're discussing today, okay? Thank you. Growth makes certain relationships too restrictive or too small. You feel claustrophobic in certain environments. You no longer enjoy doing this and doing that because that's just not the vibration you're at anymore. That's just not the revelation you now have in your life. You now know, you now know right from wrong, essentially. And I'm not saying the people that you no longer are friends with were wrong, but you don't always have to do what somebody else is doing. Disclaimer, I'm not here to tell you that you are better than anybody. Outgrowing people doesn't mean that they're bad. It doesn't mean that you've been betrayed. It just means you no longer want to shrink to match who you were when you first met them. Let's even look at how relationships work, right? People come into your life to meet the version of yourself that they can relate with, right? When you are no longer that person, if they too are not changing and evolving, that relationship can no longer thrive, right? And I don't think it is healthy to force that. It's actually quite toxic, and you will remain small, or you will remain that person. You find that the version of you attracts people like you, people that you can connect with, and when you no longer can connect with them, you drift apart. So yeah, you didn't lose them, you lost the need that connected you to them. I'm going to assume everybody watching wants to be better. If you're watching for gist, then that's also fine. But when you heal, you stop laughing at things that aren't funny. You stop entertaining half-baked attention or people that are disrespectful. You stop saying yes to things you want to say no to. You stop being a people pleaser. You live in your identity. You're proud of who you are, and that will naturally bother people that benefited from your lack of boundaries, benefited from disrespecting you, benefited from taking advantage of you, or even if it's not that extreme, they benefited from your company or your low vibration, basically. If somebody becomes a better version of themselves and ends up losing somebody, I think that is a positive, because we all grow, we all evolve, and we all change, right? I don't expect anybody to stay the same. So you're either changing for the better or you're changing for the worse. And why you wouldn't want to encourage your friend, your family, your spouse, that what they're doing is great, and almost go against it or try and stop it or make them feel like they are too much, then you need to. And then also, the person that is changing, you need to be content with that. You almost need to allow them to go. Don't fight for something that is leaving when you are bettering. We want to be real with ourselves, right? There are certain relationships that are built on trauma bonding, shared pain, mutual loneliness, mutual insecurity, shared wounds, When one person heals and the other doesn't, the foundation cracks. We collaborated on something to become friends. I no longer want to share this thing with you. I no longer want to be wounded. So what other conversations are we going to have if I am not a wounded person? I just think that healing changes the terms and conditions of our connection. The contract has been broken. So this no longer works, unfortunately. We have to separate. Of course, I'm going to give a Christian perspective on separation. I do think that God separates you when he wants to elevate you, right? I think as well, God puts people in your life for a certain season and not for your future, right? Some people cater to your brokenness and they just don't have the capacity to cater to your whole self, like to who you are becoming. They no longer can encourage you or be of help to this new journey that you're going on. And it is okay. It doesn't even need to be a big thing that it normally we make it a big thing, and I don't think it needs to be. For everybody going through a transformative season in their life, don't think that God is punishing you. I do think it's protection. I think God separates you, before he elevates you. He would need to remove certain people's access to you in order to reveal to you who he wants you to be, in order to reveal to you your true identity. And if that person is still in your life, I don't think you will be able to tap into the new you, because there's too many voices, there's too many people talking to you, there's too many people advising you wrongly, not because they know that they are, just because that advice no longer aligns with the person I am today. For example, if you're having issues in your marriage and your friends are like, yeah, leave him, what do you want to be, a Proverbs 31 woman? Do you want to live life according to what the Bible says? Do you want to forgive? I'm not saying if he cheats on you, forgive him. Well, I am saying that, actually. I'm not saying that. That's none of my goddamn business. I'm sorry. Essentially, what I'm saying is that elevation requires separation. Let's be honest, right? Separation hurts. Outgrowing people hurts. It hurts like hell, right? Even when you know it's right, even when you know you need to do this, because you are actually grieving familiarity, shared history, old habits, comfort, even the old version of yourself. We are grieving the old version of ourselves. Like, for example, you move from a woman without children to having children, and that freedom almost goes, and you grieve your old self, even though you know that you had to tap into this season of your life. Like, you were always going to be here. You've always wanted children, but there was always going to be a shift. It's okay to miss something whilst knowing that you're happier here. And for people who are currently going through separation, I think you should thank your stars. Thank God for that. I say let yourself mourn, let yourself feel the pain, but definitely don't mistake that pain for it being a mistake. It's not a mistake. Often pain is proof of a chapter closing in your life. So well done. You've finished the book. On to the next. Here's what I want you to take. You didn't lose them. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't mess up. The relationship you had with that said person or those said people belonged to the old version of yourself, not to the new you. We gotta make some new friends. The positives here: you grew, you healed, you evolved. You are a better person, and nobody can tell you otherwise. They know it too. They just might think you now think that you are better than them. By the way, you are better, right? It doesn't have to be than anybody else. You're just better. Let's hold on to that. These are some ways to know whether you have outgrown someone. The conversations don't land the same. You no longer want to do what they want to do. You feel drained when you are around this person. You find that you no longer want to share things happening in your life. You feel like God is pulling you in the opposite direction. You feel guilty for becoming this new person. You should never feel guilty. Even if you are changing in a friendship, I think your friends should be applauding you. Your friends should be cheering you on, right? And if they're not, then it's not a punishment that they leave. It's a blessing. So if you are in a season of losing people, friends, family, communities, like I am actually, I don't think you're losing anything, actually. I think you are becoming something. I don't think you're losing anything. I think that, like I said, it's proof of change. It's proof of evolution. It's proof that you are evolving. It's proof that you are becoming a better person. So I do not see it as a loss. I don't think we should shed any more tears. With every new version of you comes a new circle, a new relationship, new alignment, new people that are equipped to handle, support the version of you that you are becoming, and not the version that you were. This was a very quick episode. I just felt like I would insert this into the series because it is currently happening. That's it. That's me today. I'm done. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week, Thursday at 7 p.m. For another episode. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that if you are looking at, the loss of certain friendships as a negative, I just change the mindset, look at it as a positive. Everything is working out for your good. I need you to believe that. And yeah, I love you. Bye.